together, can we stand a chance?
Let's fight like demons.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 science fiction adventure Dune, a film that is directed by Denis Villeneuve and it stars Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Stellan Skarsgard, Josh Brolin and Javier Bardem. Now Dune, where to start with this film? It's had a long journey to get a respected adaptation, I suppose. I covered recently on the channel, I did a classic film review for the 1984 David Lynch version of Dune, a film that I do have a lot of affection for. I went to the cinema to see as a kid, really enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it, even though it is definitely flawed, which I did talk about in that review. There was a mini-series that the Sci-Fi channel did in the early noughties that is quite well respected, that I do have on Blu-ray that I'm trying to get through to hopefully review. But when I found out that Denis Villeneuve was bringing Dune to the big screen, it's one of those moments where you get really excited, in a sense of Denis Villeneuve is one of my favourite directors working at the minute, and that's mainly due to Blade Runner 2049 that I genuinely thought was a masterpiece. I didn't think they could ever follow up Blade Runner, and Denis Villeneuve did it, and he did it magnificently. I just adore that film. I adore his style of direction. So for him to bring Dune to the big screen got me really, really excited. We've had to wait a little bit, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's finally here now. I've managed to see it. One of my most anticipated films of the year. What do I think of Dune? I think it's magnificent. I think it's absolutely brilliant, almost flawless. For those of you who don't know the story of Dune, I'll give you a filtered version of the story because it's a sweeping science fiction epic. This film, essentially, there is a planet called Arrakis. It's a desert planet. There is a substance on this planet called spice that basically is invaluable. Everybody needs it. It's needed for space travel. It's needed for a whole array of things, and it's priceless. And the Hakonens, the villains of the film, have been harvesting spice on this planet for a long, long time. However, the Emperor of the known galaxy is feeling jealous of House Atreides, that is run by Oscar Isaac's Duke Leto Atreides. He's a well-respected leader. He's honourable, and the Emperor doesn't like it. So he arranges for them to take over from the Hakonens on Dune, Arrakis. However, it's a trap that has been laid for them, and they are set up to fail. They are then ambushed and attacked by the Hakonens and the Duke's supreme soldiers. And that is essentially what this first film focuses on. It is the build up to that, them arriving on the planet House Atreides, trying to deal, and then the attack from the Hakonens. So yeah, Dune. Wow, what can I say? I mean, number one, the cast here is outstanding. There were some question marks by a lot of people, including myself. You know, the inclusion of some actors here, namely people like Jason Momoa. How is he going to fit into a film as, you know, grand and epic as this in regards to his performance and things? He's great. Dune is one of the highlights, I think, of this film. I really enjoyed his performance. Very, very good. If you can hear something out there, there's a truck just going past, bouncing along. I also have my doubts about Timothy Chalamet. Excuse me. Now, Timothy Chalamet is an upcoming actor. He's a superb actor. I've seen him in a couple of things, and he's very, very talented. So I had no issues with his acting talent. It was just his portrayal of Paul Atreides I was worried about. And I have to say, those fears were definitely put to rest. Great performance by him, and more akin to the Paul Atreides in the books. when you compare his performance to Cal MacLachlan's, and even the guy that played Paul Atreides in the miniseries on Sci-Fi, I think Timothy Chalamet's is the best performance. He's supposed to be playing like a 15-year-old kid, essentially. Now, whereas he doesn't come across as a 15-year-old kid in the film, he does come across as a bit of a weaker character, a younger character, a character definitely lesser. I mean, he's best friends, for example, with Duncan Idaho, which is played by Jason Momoa, and they're like night and day in regards to their physicality. So I loved how he played his character. There was a lot of vulnerability there, but hidden strength as well. Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, Lady Jessica and Duke Leto. Great performances by these. I believed both of their performances. I thought they were great casting choices. And Stellan Skarsgard as Baron Vladimir Hakonen. Wow, what a sinister performance by him. I thought the performance in the original Dune for Baron Harkonnen was quite pantomime, but really, really good. I think Stellan Skarsgård has taken that mantle here. I thought he was really good. I thought he was a very, very good Baron Harkonnen. Not so sure about Dave Bautista playing Beast Raban. He's not in it very much. We'll probably see him more in the second film, which I believe has now been authorised. They've given it the all clear, because this film has been received very well. So this is like, it's the first half. I mean, it definitely ends with you wanting more, is what I would say. Now, those of you who know the story and have seen the other adaptations of this, you kind of know what's coming in the second part. But I'm really interested to see what Denis Villeneuve does with the second part. I mean, what I liked about this is it feels familiar still, this film, because I've seen the other adaptations. So the story was immediately recognisable to me. At times it was, almost word for word in regards to the David Lynch material. But because of the runtime here and the fact that he's been allowed to make the film he wants to make, Denis Villeneuve, he's been given time for these characters to breathe. We learn more about these characters. We know more about who they are, how they fit into the story, whereas obviously the David Lynch version was like just shy of 2 hours long, and it told the whole story. Whereas this film is like nearly 2.5 hours long, and it just tells the first part of this story. So we've got another at least 2 hour part to come. So it gives everything a little bit more time to breathe, and you learn more about the characters, and it feels more relaxed. Now, for those of you who don't have issues with pacings of films, you don't like slow paces, you might have an issue here. Probably impatient watchers of films out there will probably even label this film boring. It is definitely not boring. It's paced beautifully, allowing these characters, like I say, to get established on the screen, for the world building and the setup all to take place. And the visuals here, wow. Denis Villeneuve delivers again. I mean, he's such a visual director. He's a genius, really. It's jaw-dropping to look at. The costumes and the set design is top-notch. I'm not keen on the music. I mean, Hans Zimmer, normally he's a 10 out of 10. He aces, generally speaking, any film soundtrack that he does. It's not awful, but at times it just doesn't feel like it fits the film. It doesn't feel epic enough sometimes, the soundtrack. But yeah, grand in scale, epic to watch, really, really enjoyable. Can't wait for the second part now. And it was just a brilliant, brilliant film. At times, the action was fantastic, exciting. At times, it was paced just nicely for you to get to know the characters. But it was always visually interesting, always joyous to watch. For me, one of those films that I've been highly anticipating, and it not only met my expectations, but probably just exceeded them for me. A huge fan of this material, so therefore I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I thought Denis Villeneuve delivered, absolutely delivered, and I never really had any doubts, but he's nailed it again. He's knocked it out of the park for me. I probably would have given it a 10 out of 10 if it wasn't maybe from the soundtrack stuff, the music, which I just thought didn't really fit the film at times. And I don't know, there's a couple of characters that feel they weren't established enough. I expected them to get more on screen time, and they almost seemed like they got less than the David Lynch version. A couple of characters, and I'm not going to spoil who, but that's probably why it hasn't got a 10 out of 10 in my mind. But for me, it's a brilliant, brilliant film, and one I strongly recommend you guys see if you want to see a sweeping science fiction epic. It's not Star Wars, it's like the Lord of the Rings version of science fiction, I would probably suggest. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you like this review. I will be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.